This will be for the con assignment, radians and degrees. So radians and degrees are both angular measurements. Okay, most of you already know if you go once around a circle, that's 360 degrees. But if you measure once around the circle in radians, that's going to be 2 times pi. So in order to find the conversion factor, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And of course 360 divided by 2 is 180. And that's in degrees. And 2 over 2 cancels. And we're left with pi. And that's in radians. So that's the conversion factor we're going to be using. 180 degrees equals pi radians. So they want us to convert 257 pi divided by 360 radians to degrees. Alright, this symbol here is just a Greek letter theta that represents angle measurement. So we're going to start with 257 pi over 360, and that's in radians, abbreviated RAD. And remember, when converting units, if you have something equals something, you can divide by 1 over the other. So here this is in radians, okay, but we want degrees. So since I want radians to cancel and it's in the numerator here, I'm going to have it in the denominator right here, so it cancels out. So in the denominator, I'm going to start with pi radians. And then in the numerator, I'm going to use 180 degrees. Okay, I'll just write DEG for degrees. Alright, and of course, like we said, we want radians to drop out. So now we can cancel units just like fractions. Alright, so radians divided by radians cancels. And of course, pi divided by pi cancels. And I don't think they make you reduce the fraction on this one. So let me try it without reducing first and see what happens. Alright, in the numerator, we just have 257 times 180. And in the denominator, we just have 360. And the radians dropped out, so that is in degrees. So let me calculate that. So in the numerator, big number 46,260, and the denominator is still 360. Let me see if con accepts this. Alright, so inside the box I'm going to type 46260. That's my numerator. Click the slash for the fraction and then type 360. Let me see what happens. Obviously I didn't reduce this. Okay, it says your answer is almost correct but needs to be simplified. So they didn't mark it wrong, but they're giving me a chance to reduce it. Alright, so let's see. The simplest way to reduce this, we know 360 divided by 180 is just 2. So I'm going to cancel 360 divided by 180 and write 2. And now I have 257 over 2. Now you can't reduce that fraction any further, so they should accept it. 257/2. I typed inside the box. Okay, so they did accept it. Now if you did this on the calculator, you would get 128.5. Pretty sure they would accept that as well. Now if you want to use a shortcut on this, because we said 180 degrees equals pi radians, you can just plug in 180 in place of pi. So right here, instead of pi, you can write 257 times 180, and you'll have the same thing, and you'll get the same answer. Okay, here they want us to convert 100 degrees to radians. Express your answer exactly. So we start with 100 degrees, and we're going to multiply by the conversion fraction. All right, we're going to do one over the other. Now, since I have degrees in the numerator and I want radians, I want degrees to cancel. So I'm going to put degrees down here in the denominator. So 180 degrees is going to go in the denominator. And pi radians goes in the numerator. All right, now degrees divided by degrees drops out. And in the numerator, I have 100 times pi. And in the denominator, I have 180. All right, again, let me see if Khan accepts this without reducing. All right, numerator is 100 times pi. So I type 100, and I can click the pi key, or alternatively, I can just type pi, and it turns it into a pi. I click slash to make it a fraction, and I put 180 in the denominator. So that matches my answer. Let's see. Okay, so in this case, it did take it. So maybe the ones for radians with pi in it, it won't make you reduce it. All right, if you wanted to reduce this, divide each one by 10 and the 0 drops off. And then you have 10 divided by 18. They're both even numbers. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 18 divided by 2 is 9. And that would just be 5 pi over 9. Okay, but it looks like the ones for radians, they don't make you reduce it. So this would be unnecessary. But it is good practice to reduce, because you might have to reduce some of the fractions on the SAT. And there's no shortcut for this one. Since we started with 100 degrees, you can't plug in 180 for pi. So here we're converting radians to degrees. We're starting with 9 pi over 5 radians. And since radians is in the numerator here, we want it to drop out, so put it in the denominator here. So the pi radians goes in the denominator. And the 180 degrees goes in the numerator. Okay, so radians divided by radians cancels. Pi divided by pi cancels. And we're left with degrees. 9 times 180 in the numerator, and 5 in the denominator. Okay, this one we can just do on the calculator. If you want to do it in your head, 180 divided by 5 is going to be 36, and 9 times 36, that's 360, that's 144, I believe. All right, I'm going to double check that real quick. But the units were degrees, so that's what we wanted. All right, good thing I checked before I entered it. It's actually 324, so just click inside the box and type 324. All right, so on this one, you didn't have to cancel. The calculator could have done all the work, but it's good practice anyway. And again, if you wanted to use the shortcut, you can just plug in 180 in place of pi. You'll get 9 times 180 divided by 5, and that's exactly what we had. All right, last one. We have 230 degrees. We want to convert to radians. So we have degrees in the numerator. In order to cancel, we want it in the denominator. So I'm going to write 180 degrees in the denominator. And I want pi radians in the numerator. Now I know that the degree symbol is this little circle, but I've been writing DEG so I can show you that it cancels out. So degrees divided by degrees drops out, and we're left with 230 times pi, and that's divided by 180. And that is in radians. That's exactly what we want. So I'm just going to enter this in the box. For the radians, they don't make you reduce. So inside the box, I type 230, click pi, click slash to make it a fraction, and 180 is in the denominator. Now again, if you had wanted to reduce this one, since they both end in a 0, each is divisible by 10. So it would just be 23 divided by 18 times pi. And by the way, when pi is out front or pi is in the numerator, that's the same thing. It's still in the numerator when it's out front.